In this chapter, we're going to look at ways to make our scripts more efficient, ways to reuse elements that we've already written, and to avoid redundancy. To do that, we're going to be looking at PHP functions, and that's both the inbuilt functions that are included within PHP and custom functions that we can write ourselves to suit our individual needs. We're also going to be looking at variable scope in the context of functions, and ways to pass arguments either by value or by reference to our functions. We're also going to be looking at variable numbers of arguments and the kind of functions that can deal with such a procedure. And we're going to be writing recursive functions which can actually call themselves. Also going to look at date and time functions. Another thing we're going to cover in this chapter is external scripts which we can use to reuse elements of code and keep different reusable packets of code separate from each other. We're also going to look at error capture, ways to deal with the inevitable moments when things go wrong with our PHP scripts. Now, to begin with, let's take a look at some simple functions within PHP. We've actually already seen quite a few functions, such as the string function strreplace, such as the database function MySQL connect. We use functions for quite a lot of things that we've done up till now, and although they all do very different things, they all follow a very similar syntax. That is, function name, then a bracket which can take any number of arguments separated by commas. And those arguments can be, say, a number or a string, or they can even be a variable. Let's take a look at an example first. Before we get into functions, we're going to take a look at scripts written without functions and the reasons why we need to use functions. Let's say we wanted to convert a temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. We start out with a temp variable called temp, and we're going to give as the value 80. Then we're going to say converted is going to be temp minus 32 multiplied by 5 and divide by 9. And then we're going to echo converted to the browser. Let's take a look at that in our browser and make sure that works. As we can see, the number 26.6 recurring is the product of our conversion. However, what if we wanted to convert more than one number within our script? Maybe we could keep all three of those lines and then copy them, paste them down to here, and simply change this figure. Let's say we took 212, and we're going to put in an extra line break in between those two. I'm just using these line spaces here to split up the script and make it easier to see what we're doing. There's no particular reason or significance behind those line spaces beyond that. If we go to our browser again and refresh, we can see that the conversion has been done on two different numbers this time by our script. And we know that the conversion's working correctly because 212 Fahrenheit is 100 Celsius. So that's a good test for our converting equation here. However, there is something very wrong with this script, even though it works. These lines are exactly the same, and they're repeated within the script. Now that may not be so much of a problem when we have a script with a total of a very few number of lines, around 12 lines. But as our scripts get more complicated, we'll find that anytime we repeat something, even if it's just a line or a couple of lines, that's a kind of a warning sign. That means that we've somehow been wasteful in our techniques. We've somehow allowed a redundancy to creep in, and we've repeated something that we could have automated. Because that's, after all, what computers are about. They're about finding ways to take the donkey work out of calculations.